When the Conservancy was brought into being by the Act of Parliament in 1971, for the first couple of years it seemed that not much changed in the administration of the boating activities in the harbour. In 1974, a new leadership role was established with Captain Ian Mackay taking over as Manager and Harbour Master. Up until then, many decisions were still made by staff based at County Hall. There was, as part of the Act of Parliament, a new source of funding from the local councils called the Precept. This was linked to the council's responsibilities for this landscape as an area of outstanding natural beauty. To start with, this money was given away in small grants to local boating interests such as the sailing clubs. But Ian set out to transfer this budget towards the needs of looking after the AONB, which was really what the funding was meant for. Here is Ed Carter, the Senior Deputy Harbour Master.
Hi Judy.
Hi Ed. How did the new harbour dues system work?
Okay, so as you know, harbour dues are the primary source of revenue for the harbour, which enables us to look after the harbour. We look after all the aids to navigation, slipways, launching sites, and critically it also helps to fund our patrol team, who look after primarily the safety of all of our harbour users. As the number of vessels in Chichester Harbour grew over the years, it became harder and harder to track the people that were paying their harbour dues. So a member of Conservancy staff, Phillips, who took on the role of amenity officer, actually put in place a system where all vessels were required to display a plaque as proof of payment.
So Ed, how successful was that project?
So now, the way the system works is every vessel in the harbour is required to display its plaque. This enables us, our officers, to check really easily at a glance how many vessels or which vessels have been paying and critically who hasn't, so we can concentrate in those areas. That leaves us, thankfully, lots of time to do the other business of the harbour, which is looking after primarily the safety of our harbour users. This year we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Conservancy, and so to commemorate we've actually issued a limited edition plaque for this year, which really shows the 50th anniversary on there. It's going to be printed in a nice gold colour, not quite doing it justice here, but hopefully it'll become a real good item for people's collection.
It was thought significant and appropriate that the precept money from the councils was spent on environmental work because it came from the local residents and not all of these were boating people. In his new role as amenity officer, Phillips set out to make some improvements. The first project was to shore up a public footpath between Itchenor and East Head in West Wittering. Phillips sought some funding for materials and was successful in receiving £1,000 from Wimpey, the construction firm, not the burger firm. So Phillips spent the money that had been donated on a supply of old railway sleepers, and one of the projects he did was to build a new seawall here, and then he backfilled it to bring the footpath back into use. Well, you can see time has taken its toll here. Some of them are falling down. Certainly during high tide and stormy weather, there'll be a lot of wave action that hits this part of the harbour. As you can see, there is quite a long wall of these concrete railway sleepers, and to help keep this shored up, we also had these concrete blocks. Now, these had a former life as mooring sinkers. They're the heavy weights that are in the harbour mud that the mooring buoy is fixed to by chain. So part way along this quite extensive project, there's a change in the railway sleepers. They go from concrete into wood, and then the rest of them are actually wooden sleepers. Another big project was to shore up the side here of the public footpath that goes alongside Slipper Mill Pond in Emsworth. The half graft for these projects was supplied by an agreement between the Conservancy and the Manpower Services Commission, and they had a community employment programme. This worked well in two ways. A team of unemployed people were able to get some work experience, and the Conservancy benefited from this labour, as the team members were also being paid unemployment benefits. In fact, two of the team went on to gain full-time jobs with the Conservancy. Another one of the first projects was to improve the footpath services of some of the paths in the harbour so that people with limited mobility or were using a wheelchair could get out into the harbour and enjoy being out in the country. And this was quite a new idea at the time. So one of the first shoreline footpaths to be improved to be wheelchair friendly was here at Chichester. Another one of the wheelchair accessible paths was built here at Cobner Point, where the embankment was built up and a hard surface put down. Another accessible shoreline path is here at North Common on Hayling Island, which has a wonderful view across to Salt Marsh and over to North Knee Marina. So next month we're going to hear a little bit more about how the bird counting got going in Chichester Harbour, and also think about some of the more recent research that has been established here.